Hey everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Boost Your Biology podcast. I'm your host, Lucas, and today we're going to be talking about a very novel ingredient that I've researched quite a lot and actually had the privilege of talking about it alongside Sean Wells last week on the podcast. And what I'm here to talk to you guys about today is actually an endogenous chemical that the body produces following exercise. So this particular chemical is called L-Baiba. It's spelled, it's a weird spelling molecule. It's obviously, it sounds weird when you pronounce it. It's spelled Baiba. And so the reason why this particular molecule sort of piqued my interest was the fact that it was able to induce what is known as the beiging of white adipose tissue to brown fat. So I want to really just break down more about this particular molecule and also give you guys a bit more of an explanation into some of the potential ergogenic benefits and also how it can be used in some potential clinical applications and some sports performance benefits. So I'll quickly run through what I've jotted down from my preliminary research. So to put it simply, L-Baiba is known as an exercise-induced muscle factor. So it's actually formed from the breakdown of one of the BCAAs known as L-valine. And I'm sure many of you will be familiar with L-valine, which is one of the BCAAs. So L-Baiba is actually a metabolite of L-valine. So at least we know from, we've conducted a lot of research on L-valine, but it was cool to see that researchers identified that this particular molecule, L-Baiba, it's actually used as a signaling molecule in the body. So I sort of want to break down, I don't want to get too technical in terms of the mechanisms, but more about how it can be used for the everyday person to improve metabolic health and even potentially help with things like insulin sensitivity, blood sugar regulation, potentially dropping body fat, and improving muscle growth and body composition. So I've jotted down a few notes here in terms of how L-Baiba appears to work. So what we know is that this particular molecule is produced during during exercise. So it's actually every time we contract our muscles, this particular molecule is actually released and is actually a signaling molecule to really trigger a lot of other downstream positive effects. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if this particular molecule is responsible for a lot of the beneficial effects of exercise, in terms of, when we look at exercise, we know that it's affecting, blood pressure. It's in terms of stabilizing blood pressure long term. It's going to be having a positive effect on, insulin sensitivity, both peripherally and even in the liver as well. We know that exercise can upregulate various antioxidant pathways. So one of which is glutathione. And I know a lot of you will be familiar with glutathione. It's the body's master antioxidant. So what's interesting about L-Baiba is that if we look deeply into some of the secondary downstream metabolites and other effects that it has, it's interesting to see how now we're able to isolate this particular molecule, and in fact we're able to use it in supplementation form. And that's what the company N&B Nutrition, which I've listed on my website. So for those who've just joined in, this particular molecule that I'm talking about is known as an exercise mimetic. It potentially, replicates a lot of the benefits of exercise in terms of, increasing brown fat, which we know is extremely beneficial for regulating metabolism and also preventing a lot of the negative effects of obesity and metabolic disease and things like that. So the reason why they consider it exercise in a pill is based on the fact that it has the following key effects. So L-Baiba has been shown to um, affect the energy storage capacity of the liver. So it's basically acting on PPAR alpha, which is it's an enzyme in the liver that regulates general metabolism and also fat oxidation and even glucose metabolism. So what they found was L-Baiba, spelled L-B-A-I-B-A, protects against fat gain in mice. That's with the mouse that have partial leptin deficiency. It's also been shown to increase plasma beta hydroxybutyrate. And for those listening in who have either researched ketones, will know that beta hydroxybutyrate is a very effective way to exogenously increase your ketone levels. And I'm sure many people have had experience with, entering into ketosis, which we know has a lot of other benefits in terms of brain health and giving you that mental clarity. So this molecule may, in fact, influence, mental clarity and cognition and things like that. So I found that really interesting that an endogenous exercise mimetic is able to bump up the levels of beta hydroxybutyrate, which is really, really cool. The other benefit that they found in the mouse studies were that it improves glucose tolerance, and it also improves insulin sensitivity, which is awesome. And then we've also found that this particular molecule has been shown to increase mitochondrial function and improve mitochondrial biogenesis, which is basically increasing the energy facility and infrastructure of all cells in the body. So that's quite an interesting benefit from L-Baiba. So for those of you who are interested in learning more about L-Baiba, I'll be linking that in the description on this video so you can learn more about what I'm talking about. But just to put it very simply, I definitely think that this is going to be a very novel and very prominent compound that will be used in the future for protecting against metabolic disease and improving general metabolic health. So the key points you need to understand is that L-Baiba supports the production of brown fat, so brown adipose tissue, which is like an energy producing fat, increases warmth. It generates heat and burns calories. So that's definitely one positive. So yeah, in terms of other compounds that do this, we know that beta-melon can do the same thing. Curcumin has also been shown to affect white fat to brown fat, at least in rodent studies. So the other unique property about L-Baiba is that it helps with leptin deficiency. So that's another condition that a lot of people struggle with, where their basic hunger signaling hormones and things like that are actually disrupted. And, that's when people get hangry and frustrated and grumpy when they can't, when they don't eat, when they skip a meal and things like that. So the question is, does L-Baiba, stop this negative cycle? Does it help with preventing against leptin deficiency? So then I already mentioned that L-Baiba does support, the ketogenic pathway. So it helps with increasing endogenous ketone production, which is really awesome in terms of like that mental clarity. And there's even been multiple studies suggesting that exogenous ketones can support exercise performance, even when fed with sufficient carbohydrates, which was really, really impressive. So yeah, some of the preliminary studies are really profound. There's studies done on high-fat diets where L-Baiba was able to counteract and prevent some of the negative effects of a high-fat diet, which is really cool. Improving glucose tolerance, protecting it against renal fibrosis in mice, which was great for kidney health. And in terms of a dosage recommendation, obviously this is not medical advice, but the suggested dosage range for L-Baiba is between 250 milligrams to 500 milligrams once or twice a day. And this is based off what we found in rat studies. And in terms of the LD50, the LD50 for L-Baiba is ridiculously high, which is always a good indicator of, I guess, the safety of a particular compound. Obviously, it's still important that we conduct human clinical trials, but based on the preliminary research in these rat studies, it appears that L-Baiba definitely, has a very wide safety margin. So just to wrap up, in terms of supplementation and what L-Baiba may be able to offer, and the reason why I'm dedicating an entire podcast to this compound, and I'll be doing another one soon on a very similar compound, is because this is what L-Baiba may be able to potentially offer somebody who's wanting to get healthy. So I'll just quickly summarize. So L-Baiba improves brown fat, so increasing brown fat in the body, which is a good type of fat that we need to help with generating heat and burning burning calories. The next benefit is that it helps with insulin sensitivity, both peripherally and hepatic insulin resistance. It also has been shown to support leptin, like issues with leptin um, sensitivity and things like that. And just in general, it appears to mimic a lot of the benefits of exercise because it really is a signaling molecule. Of course, as a naturopath, I always encourage like doing exercise first and, getting all the other areas of your life in check, such as your diet and sleep and stress and things like that. But L-Baiba can be a very useful compound to, I guess, for those who maybe are injured or they can't exercise or they're looking for something just to improve overall metabolic health, like, coenzyme Q10, like various herbs, things like curcumin, things like gymnema, all of these glucose disposal agents. It appears that L-Baiba may be another tool that we can use to promote metabolic health and in general support overall healthy aging. So for those listening in who want to know more about this particular exercise mimetic, I'll be linking an article that I wrote on my website, which you can check out. It's called the molecule that we're talking about is called L-BAIBA. And if anyone wants to purchase this particular exercise mimetic or potential ergogenic aid, they can check it out on my website. Just search L-Baiba ergogenic health. I'll be linking that in the show notes. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video talking about potential benefits of supplementing with L-Baiba.